Khoros. Where do we even begin? This is the platform I get asked about more than any other platform over the last couple of years. It's definitely the platform that's caused the most upheaval in our space the last few years. So let's have an honest review of where Khoros stands today and whether you should stay or whether you should go. I'm going to use the same 9 capabilities scorecard as every other episode, so you can compare it like for like. But I'm going to be honest, this one is different from any other platform I've had to review, and there's a number of reasons for that. One, I would say the product is strong. In some areas, it's still the best in the market, but I'm still going to tell most of you to leave the platform the moment you possibly can. And there's also something you should know in the background here. Khoros in the past has sent me legal threats over my past commentary about them, so I'm going to have to navigate a little bit carefully here and be very clear that what follows is my opinion. And I'll stick to what I can stand behind, but 2 things can be true at once here. 1, the product is good, and 2, I would certainly recommend that you leave when you can. And the gap between those 2 things, that's the story that we're going to cover today. So let's dive into it. Let's go with some history first. So for the last 15 years or so, Khoros, I think, was the premium community platform in our space. If you were a big brand, and if you were running a big support community, you're probably on Khoros or on Lithium before that. And it truly owned that. The feature set was deep, and it ran at a scale almost nobody else could really touch. And I think even today, that's the version a lot of us carry around in our heads. The product itself still deserves a fair amount of respect. The company around it, however, no longer does. So quick history, because I think this explains a lot of things. Khoros came out of Lithium, one of the original enterprise community platforms, and it merged with Spreadfast in 2019 and was rebranded as Khoros. And in my experience, since that merger, Khoros has gone downhill really fast. I think it was badly managed. I think they had a huge amount of staff churn, and I think most of the clients were agreeing this platform isn't what it used to be, and the costs and the charges for any services were being mentioned quite often as a very negative factor. I think also during this time, attention drifted towards social media management, and the community product, the part most of you care about, didn't move forward in the way it should have. Then, May 2025 happened, and Khoros was acquired by IgniteTech. And it's worth noting at the time, Khoros was in significant debt and the viability of the company was in question. But it's at this moment, everything else in this video hangs on. But before we get there, I definitely want to give the product its due, because it's definitely better than the current reputation suggests. Here's the honest scorecard, and it's genuinely a good one. So discussions and Q&A, I think it's got a lot going for it. Deep threaded forums, a proper question and answer format with accepted answers, and voting kept separate from open discussion. It's got some pretty good enterprise admin tools, merging, splitting discussions, bulk actions, moderation queues. I think it's got a lot going for it. On the moderation side, it's got a genuinely mature moderation suite. It's got AI models for spam and abuse. It's got support for dozens of languages as well. So I give that an 8. Analytics, I also think are strong, or relatively strong. I don't think any platform does analytics tremendously well. But it's got deep Adobe and Google Analytics integration. Gamification, I think, honestly, Khoros pioneered a lot of the best practices in gamification. So it's still got a lot of best-in-class ranks and badges and points and leaderboards. I'm not personally a massive fan of gamification, but if you are, Khoros is still a pretty good contender in that space. Ideation 7, I think got proper idea boards with voting and status tracking, a lot of good features built in. Content and knowledge bases, they've had the tribal knowledge base for a long time, and that sits alongside the forum. Events, I probably give events a 1 because I really don't think Khoros does much natively with events, and it's a real hole in the feature set. So on raw capability, if we forget about everything else for a second, Khoros is one of the most complete products in this whole series. I'm not going to pretend otherwise to make the rest of the argument easier. And let me go further, because there are 2 things that Khoros does which almost nobody else matches, even today. The first is scale. Khoros has run some of the largest brand communities on the planet. with enormous traffic, deep permissioning, and complex multi-border structures for years reliably. If you're a genuinely huge enterprise, the list of platforms that have proven they can carry your load is surprisingly short. And Khoros has very much been at the top of that for a long time. That's a tremendous track record. Second, I think, is gamification and reputation. Lithium and then Khoros, I think, with Michael Wu, Joe Cawthron on the team, really wrote the playbook for how to do this. Their ranks, badges, points, leaderboards, the whole reputation system really can help turn a casual member into a power user. It's deep, it's configurable, and a lot of platforms are still copying the model Khoros established. If recognizing and ranking your top contributors is core to how your community works, this is still amongst the best in class. I don't think anyone's really topped this yet. So, I want to be clear, none of what follows is the product, in terms of functionality, is bad. It's got some gaps and holes for sure, and it can and should be improved, but the product on its own terms is still quite strong. The problem is you don't buy a community platform on its own terms. You buy the company behind it for years. This is the part of this series that I usually don't have to deal with. Normally, when I'm scoring community software, I don't usually deal with this. But with Khoros, the software isn't the challenge, the company is. And you don't commit to a community platform for a year, you commit to that for 3 to 5 years. And over that window, you're not betting on the feature list, you're betting on the vendor. Will they support you? Will they keep the lights on? Will they truly invest in the product? Is their roadmap something they're actually going to deliver, and is it aligned with yours? And will they treat you fairly when something goes wrong? That's where, in my opinion, Khoros has become an incredibly bad bet. So let me walk you through what's happening, and you can judge the facts for yourself. Khoros is owned by IgniteTech, which is part of ESW Capital. ESW Capital is an investment firm which has probably, through its subsidiaries, bought over 100 software companies at this point. And as best I can tell, the model is consistent. Acquire enterprise software, particularly those with clients locked into longer-term contracts. Cut the cost hard and then run it for cash. And this isn't a secret, and it isn't only my read. And you can see examples of this everywhere. IgniteTech's own CEO has on multiple times spoken about how proud he is that he laid off close to 80% of his company. And he says that's because they resisted an AI-first mandate. And honestly, I can't find any proof of this anywhere that I look, but we have to take his word for it. They also run something called AI Mondays, and they claim they put a fifth of the payroll into AI training. That's the owner that took over your community platform. So what happened? Well, within weeks of the acquisition of Khoros, almost the entire company was let go. It matters because the work is now done by contractors with very little knowledge and expertise in community or the clients, rather than the full-time team that built the product. And sit with that for a second, because it connects directly to the feature set I just praised. That feature set wasn't built by the current team. All that capability was built and maintained by people. Support engineers, product teams, the account managers who answer when something breaks. And now almost all of them are gone. It's run by a far smaller crew, maybe even a skeleton crew. And it's a skeleton crew of contractors that do seem to churn a lot. And in my experience, that kind of gap shows up slowly at first, and then all at once, and then usually at the worst moment possible. So what's replaced these people? And in the messaging at least, it's AI. In April 2026, Khoros launched Aurora AI, which they describe not as an upgrade, but as a brand new AI native platform. The pitch is that AI handles support, product feedback, and keeps the community active with less manual moderation. Around it sits a suite of AI tools like AI Expert Help, AI Discovery Defender, AI Brand Defender, the same tools that they roll out across a lot of the software companies that they acquire. Now, I am not anti-AI. I think AI can be fantastic for communities. We do a huge amount of work on it with our clients. We're helping clients get AI ready. But pay close attention here if you're a current customer. You might be on the older platform, Khoros Communities Classic. Aurora is the new thing. Aurora is the drag and drop, easy to customize and manage community platform they launched a couple of years ago, after a long delay to be fair. Now at the moment, Khoros is offering free migrations from Classic to Aurora, I think through to the end of 2026, run by their AI-powered services team. These are migrations that in the past might have taken 6 figures to take place, but now they're doing them for free, which sounds great. Here's the issue. Aurora, as I said, may turn out to be a good bet, but it's still a relatively new platform. It doesn't have anywhere near the feature set of Classic, and it's a real risk. Any migration is a genuine risk. And as far as I can tell, there's no published end-of-life date for Classic. So you're being encouraged onto the new platform, while the future of the old one stays very unclear. You'll be migrating either way, and in my opinion, if you're going to take the time and effort and cost and risk of a migration, you should at the very least look at what else is around before defaulting to Aurora. So let's talk about the day-to-day experience that customers are describing to me. I get messages pretty much every single week from Khoros customers who are describing a very deep level of pain and frustration. And I think pretty much all of them that I've spoken to at least are actively planning to leave. So the first theme is support. Customers tell me account managers and commercial teams often go quiet for weeks. That issues sit unanswered, and it can be very hard to get anyone on the phone. I've experienced versions of the slow response issue myself in dealing with that. And when you're running a community that thousands of customers rely on, a vendor you can't reach isn't a small issue. The second theme is, I think, one of the most troubling that's out there today: reliability. Clients are telling me about outages and platform issues, and in some cases, have to run their own analysis to work out what went wrong, rather than getting a clear answer from Khoros. I can't independently verify any of this, so take it as what clients are telling me rather than something I've audited myself, but I'm hearing it from enough of them that in my opinion it's a trend, rather than just bad luck. And here's one that matters enormously, and almost nobody checks until it's too late. Can you get your own data out cleanly when you leave? From what I've heard, getting a full usable export out of Khoros, your content, your members, your structure, can be more of a fight than what it should be. And I've heard of customers being charged for additional exports on top of what they expected. And I want to be careful here because I haven't verified every billing detail, so treat the charging point as something to check in your own contract. But the principle holds. Your exit is only as good as your ability to take your data with you. And then there are the invoices. Over the last couple of months, I've spoken to several enterprise Khoros customers who've received large, unexpected overage invoices billed against traffic that went over their contracted limits. I'm not naming anyone, but these can run into hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's become a common story that bot traffic has randomly surged on a community, and customers now appear to be being charged for it. The detail that matters is that these customers tell me they believe a large share of that build traffic is bots and automated crawlers, not the human visitors their contracts were written around. This is a challenge that has to be resolved, and it's a big concern. And I'm hearing the same story often enough that in my opinion, it's a pattern. It's not a one-off. It's a hard thing to discover the year your renewal comes up. Here's the signal I'd weigh most heavily, and it's an observation, not an accusation. As far as I can tell, Khoros doesn't appear to be actively taking on new clients right now. I can't find the new logos, the new launches, the new customer communities you'd expect from a platform that's growing. A healthy platform vendor is out winning new business. When a vendor goes quiet on new customers and leans on billing its existing ones, that tells you, in my opinion, which way the company is pointed. And if they're not investing in winning your neighbor as a customer, ask how much they're investing in keeping you as one. So let me tell you plainly what I think is going on, and be clear that this is also my opinion. In my view, this is the very standard private equity software playbook applied to a community platform. Acquire it, cut most of the staff, bet or pretend that AI can paper over the gaps, and then maximize the revenue from existing contracts, including through aggressive billing for as long as customers stay, on the assumption that they'll all leave eventually anyway. Some former customers put it bluntly than I would, that the contracts are being treated as cash cows. I could be wrong about this intent, I'm not in the room, But I don't need to be right about the intent for the advice to hold, because the things you can actually see, the layoffs, the support and reliability complaints, the export friction, the surprise bills, the all-in bet on AI, a brand new platform with the future of the old one unclear, and the apparent lack of new customers are enough on their own. That's why I score platforms on 9 capabilities. But I'm going to tell you to wait a 10th, the thing that isn't on the sheet, the vendor. Khoros still, if you objectively review it, scores like a top tier platform. And on the product, it nearly is. It's a bit archaic in some places, it's throwing around the edges, it's not as reliable as what it used to be, but it's still a robust product. But the scorecard measures what the software can do, not whether the company behind it will still be supporting you fairly in 3 years' time. And on that second question, in my opinion, Khoros is one of the riskiest choices in the market right now. It's the riskiest choice in this entire series by a long way. The strong scores are real, they're just not the thing that should decide this for you. So the question of this series always ends on, should you build on or stay on Khoros? And my answer is an absolute hell no. If you're on Khoros today, I'd start planning your exit now rather than waiting. Don't be in a panic, don't make this a rush thing, but just plan for the worst today. The worst position to be in is deciding to leave the day you get a surprise invoice or the day your support stops responding, because that's when you have no room to negotiate and no time. Almost everyone I know on the platform is already looking elsewhere, and many have moved already and many more are going to. The ones who come out of this well are the ones who got started early. If you got a free Classic to Aurora migration being dangled in front of you, treat that as your prompt to run a real evaluation of the alternatives, not as the easy default. I won't leave you without options. The right alternative depends on what your community is actually for, and I'm scoring all of these in this series. If you're a B2B SaaS community, where product feedback or customer product integration or integration with the Gainsight CRM is what you're after, then Gainsight is a great platform. If you're looking for more a general purpose enterprise community built around Q&A and knowledge, HighLogic Vanilla is one of the strongest all-rounders. If you want a daily social members hanging out community look, then look at HighLogic Thrive, look at Better Mode as well. This course is also where a lot of course communities are already migrating, and it's hard to beat on discussion depth and openness. And if your community is built around events, or if you're looking for an alternative that is investing very heavily in AI and also making great progress, then Bevy is built for that. Map your must-have capabilities first, and then test these against this list, not against a demo. And if you do decide to move, do it properly, because a rushed migration of course can hurt as much as staying put. Get your data out early and actually test that you can export it cleanly, your content, your members, and the SEO value tied to your URLs. The platforms I'll be looking at depend on what your community is for, and I'll keep scoring them in this series so you can compare. The full scorecard behind this video is free. Download it, check it against your shortlist, and tell me in the comments where you think I've gotten Khoros wrong. I will read them and try and update the scores as the evidence develops. And if you want help getting off Khoros or choosing your next platform, you can find me, Richard, at FeverBee.com. I'll see you in the next episode.